You know, whenever I preach a sermon, there's a bunch that just gets cut out. And it's like if it was a cutting table, there would just be all of these scraps of paper laying around. And there was one story that kind of fell off the table this week that it pained me not to get to it in the sermon. So you're going to get it right now. It's from 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. It starts like this. The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as his slaves." Elisha replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" She said, "Your servant has nothing there at all, except a small jar of olive oil." Elisha said, "Go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side." She left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another one." But he replied, "There's not a jar left." Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, "Go sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left." Now, my initial thought, it's probably your initial thought too. You read the story and you just, here's my thought. Man, I should have got more jars, right? You're thankful for what God gave you, but man, I should have got more jars. I think you should have got more jars. Generosity. Jesus has promised this. Give and it will be given to you. Pressed down, shaken together, overflowing. Wouldn't it have been better to bring more to the Lord so that he can increase the blessing from it? Again, not all the blessing is financial. Sometimes it's emotional or spiritual or relational. But God will bless your faith in any avenue, but particularly in giving is what we're talking about here. We're not talking about health and wealth. I know a lot of preachers say if you give 10, God will give you 100. Look, I don't believe in health wealth theology, but I do believe the Bible. And the Bible is clear that to the measure of your faith, God will bless you. And that is true in your offering of your time. It is true in the offering of your talents, and it is true in the offering of your treasure. Man, I wish I'd have brought more jars early on in my life. In my own faith journey, I struggled to be a generous person. And part of that has to do with my upbringing. I was taught to be frugal. Turns out I wasn't frugal, I was just cheap. And the more I've learned generosity, the more I have loved generosity. And the more generous I am, seriously, I cannot keep up with the Lord's blessing. And the more I give, the more he blesses. So why are we talking these 3 weeks about stewardship and generosity? Here's why. And this is why tithing is healthy. I know Ashley talked about it last week, and I just want to encourage you, if you're on this journey, would you consider again giving the first 10% of your income to the Lord? And here's why. Number one, you will find that as you give 10% to the Lord will have lordship over other areas of your life, not just your finances, but your marriage and your sexuality and your temptations and your children and your work. The lordship of Jesus that begins in your finances has a way of leavening all the other areas of your life. Number two, tithing is healthy because stewardship, as you steward your finances, which is very clear, 10%, it allows you to realize that your marriage, your future, your friends, your kids, all of your resources are to be stewarded for God's glory. And it gives you a different perspective on how to be married and how to raise kids and how to work at your business. Third, stewardship is way less pressure than ownership. In the middle of a recession, there's a lot of pressure. They're going up. Gas prices are going up. Food prices are going up. Labor force is going up. In the middle of all the rising prices, there's a lot of pressure. If you're the owner of a business, you know this better than anyone, right? The owner has way more pressure than even the managers of the business. Managers of business, they go home and they sleep well. It's the owner that has to carry the weight of the business. Look, This is not your business. Your finances is not your business. Even your marriage is not your business. Your kids, they're not yours. They are a gift of God for you to steward. You're a manager, not an owner. Man, that takes a lot of pressure off of life. And when the pressure cooker is pressing in hardest on us, we need a steam valve to let off some of that pressure. Tithe is a steam valve that will let some of the pressure off of life. Look, if all the money is God's money, it's not your problem, it's His. You're just managing it wisely because we care about you. And you can just count on this. Every year, we will give some lessons. It might be 2 weeks, it might be 3, on financial management. And I want you to look forward to those next year because every year we do this, the stories of life change are incredible. And I hope that one of those stories this year is yours. That's something worth talking about.